Among the biggest issues facing President Trump and his administration, North Korea's nuclear ambitions. That rogue regime continues to conduct missile tests and threats to develop a nuclear warhead. One former Pentagon official says history may be repeating itself.
This is a condition of severe structural stress. In the North Korean case in particular, we see ourselves creeping towards, I've written about this as a Cuban Missile Crisis in slow motion.
That was Graham Allison, former Assistant Secretary of Defense and author of the new book, Destined for War: Can America and China Escape Thucydides' Trap? He joins me now. The progress that the North Koreans have made in terms of building a nuclear warhead is pretty frightening to you, and I guess it should be to all Americans.
Absolutely it is, and it is to anybody that's really focused on the issue. If you want a pretty good snapshot of it, I think General Mattis's, Secretary of Defense Mattis's presentation on one of the Sunday shows got right to the point. Basically, North Korea has acquired nuclear weapons. North Korea has acquired and built missiles that can deliver those nuclear weapons against South Korea and against Japan. And North Korea is on a path in the months immediately ahead to have a missile that can deliver a nuclear warhead against San Francisco or Los Angeles. And that's just an ugly fact.
Based on the title of your book, one has to wonder if there were some kind of preventive strike by the United States on the North, would China stay out of it?
Well, we should try to remember what happened the last time we saw this movie, which was the first Korean War, and this could be the beginning of the second. I think most of the American intelligence community believes that if we strike North Korea, which of course we can do, to prevent it conducting missile tests that will give it the capability to hold San Francisco or Los Angeles hostage. So we can conduct that test and we can execute it. But if we do, what's North Korea going to do in response? And I think most people believe, and I believe, that they will respond by artillery shells on Seoul that will kill about 1 million people in the first 48 hours.
Yeah.
Well, then it may be over, or then next move to our side. Yeah.
North Korea, even without nuclear weapons, is a frightening military power.
North Korea is genuinely weird. I think most Americans simply can't believe, and it's hard for even me to believe, and I study it a lot. I mean, here's a poor, impoverished, isolated country that has somehow built itself a nuclear arsenal, somehow built missiles that can attack the South, somehow developed all this artillery. And it's a poor country. It makes no sense, but it's a fact, yeah.
Well, President Trump said early in his administration that if China is not going to help solve the North Korean problem, then the U.S. will. Could the U.S. do it without China's help?
Well, yes, we can at least prevent North Korea acquiring an ability to launch a nuclear weapon against the U.S. But we would have to do so, unless China is able to do something, by attacking North Korea. And as I say, most people, when they play through this game, see we attack North Korea attacks Seoul, we then attack all of the air, all of the missiles, all of the artillery that could kill more people in South Korea. Now we're into the Second Korean War. And in the First Korean War, as we marched rapidly towards the Chinese border, the Chinese entered the war and beat us back down to the 38th parallel. So again, most people believe, and I believe, that if you have a Second Korean War, we will see China fighting in that war to prevent the unification of Korea under a government that's a military ally of the U.S. So it's impossible, I mean, I think it's almost impossible to believe, but we're seeing a sequence of events like we saw in the Cuban Missile Crisis, in which a small action by our part for very legitimate reasons. I mean, who wants to imagine Kim Jong-il with nuclear weapons able to attack San Francisco or Los Angeles? Nobody. And President Trump has said, I'm telling you, this is not going to happen. And he tried to persuade Xi Jinping, you have to solve this problem, but if you don't, I will, and you're not going to like the way that I solve it. But if he does, by striking North Korea, there's a reasonable chance you see a sequence of events that nobody wants, but at the end of which you could even see China and the U.S. killing each other in thousands of numbers.
Yeah, we have to remember there are 30,000 U.S. troops in South Korea right there up against the DMZ. And as you say, 1 million South Koreans could be victims of an initial attack by the North?
That's the estimate from the Pentagon that's been, reviewed and examined for now the past 15 years as we've come up to a couple of these other crossroads earlier. And the hard fact is, and President Trump points this out, each president, when he's come up to the edge of it, has basically kicked the can down the road. He says he's not going to do that.
And the can keeps getting more dangerous. Unfortunately,
and maybe even in the next step, a capability to attack San Francisco or Los Angeles with nuclear weapons.
Sobering stuff. Graham Allison, thanks very much for sharing your thoughts with us this morning.
Thanks for having me.